Well, Jim, on that note, you don't hear too often about mental wards anymore. But if you did, perhaps you would find the creative staff of AEW Dynamite, another week, another Dynamite, another. December 11th, AEW Dynamite.
Oh, boy. I mean, it's not even as much fun as it used to be if you're watching it to laugh at it. Because now not only is the stars are gone, the life is gone, the crowds are gone. And now, there's still things to make fun of because, boy, howdy, especially in a couple of these, but it's gotten sadder, hadn't it? It's like you're watching, somebody suffer the death of 1,000 ratings points by their own hand, all at the same time.
And they're about to go to Max, and, that's really what the deal... I actually heard from someone this week, a television executive, who was saying that. What the deal really is, it's not about them being on TBS. Let's see how much longer they care about TBS. It's about Max. It's about the streaming platform. But the interest isn't there, even amongst their fans. And we said it before, even if you want to dismiss television ratings because of people dropping cable, look at YouTube. Look at their videos on YouTube, how they perform today versus several years ago. The audience is only bigger. Like, you don't have any drop-off rate on YouTube. It's about the interest and the booking. And it's sad. You see those fans. They had a good crowd there. It was their first time in that building. And they were dead silent at times. There's no energy. And this Moxley thing has sucked the life.
Oh, boy.
As I said it would. Not just out of the show, but even out of the fans. I didn't think the fans were going to reject this to the level they have. They hate this.
Well, and this was not like the Nassau Coliseum or, a major metropolitan, the Los Angeles Forum, a notoriously jaded crowd. It's Kansas City. It's Kansas City. They popped for Bulldog Bob Brown. But winter was coming, and that's all you know what? Winter is coming. It was Kansas City. It is brutally cold in the Midwest this week, and all the people were wearing thick mittens. That's why you couldn't hear them clapping. And they started this thing off.
Can I just say one thing, though? Because I don't remember when it was. At one point, something happened that the fans got a little excited for. And some fans must have stood up. Because the only thing I saw was in the back, one of the security guards tell people, sit down. Sit down. Like, man, they finally got up and got excited. And this guy's telling them to sit down.
Sit down. Wake up and take your sleeping pill. When they started the thing with a sleeping pill, again, like you said, the Moxley and company, riders of the new Purple Sage whole thing, they walked through the one side of the arena with people in it, and it was everybody but Claudio. You got Wheeler, you got Pac, you got Marina Schaefer, and the plumber himself. And then here comes Light Switch Jay White, and then they gave Pockets the second entrance after Jay White. And poor Jay White would be like, what the fuck? Even he's got to realize that he's been fucked in this company. They brought him in and tried to push him without success and for obvious reasons as a top heel. And bleh, but he and Juice as a tag team could have been entertaining for fucking weeks, but we hardly ever got that. Then one or the other one's been hurt. Then they bring him back out of nowhere. Now he's a baby face. And he enters before the fucking mascot. And he's left on his face every fucking week. So Plumber and Pac versus Light Switch and Pockets. And that's the way they started the show. And by the time they were done with this, we're going to be about 25 minutes into the fucking thing. But they immediately, the four-way into the floor, surprise. Nobody ever starts a match here like that. They stay on the floor in a four-way, doing almost nothing for 3 minutes. And then they got in the ring and the referee rings the bell to start the match.
That was awkward. Wasn't that when he all of a sudden rang the bell, the place was silent. Like, what?
Well, yes, because we're like, what? We thought that had happened a while back because they've been fighting for fucking ever. What is the matter with the people in the wrestling business act like they've never been in the wrestling business before and they don't know how it works, what the rules are, what the fuck you do. And then Moxley and White traded chops. I have observations, not play-by-play, because this is ridiculous. Moxley genuinely believes that he is the toughest man on the face of the planet.
That's right.
And somebody has to. Yeah, there's got to be one person, and he's it. But are you seeing now the gyrations and the twitches and the muscle spasms he's going through to try to look like some kind of unhinged psycho serial killer?
Well, there's that, and when we talk about it, we'll talk about his promos. It's like he really has a lot he wants to say, but none of it makes any sense. None of it goes anywhere. What is he talking about? He gets amped up, and then he slows down, and he's a mess. And this is all him. This is all him.
Well, no, this match also, some of it with Pockets is embarrassing in his work and his appearance and everything, but he's supposed to be a joke. But Moxley is in there in his own way looking and working just as badly, and he's supposed to be the world champion. But then the mascot's getting 2 counts on the world champion. And the fans were just, at one point they were sitting there, they were kind of staring in silence or whatever. And then on the screen, they got a shot of Christian Cage and his bunch in the skybox, and that got a pop in the middle of the match going on. Because they were like, oh, hey, somebody we might like somehow. So, none of these people or nobody in this match knows how to fucking set up or execute a fucking hot tag. They got heat on Pockets, and then Pockets super kicked Moxley, and they both staggered phony without going off their feet, really. And Pockets just turned around and cold tagged White, and Moxley cold tagged Pac at the same time. But then Pockets had tagged while he was standing on his feet, but then he rolled out on the floor and laid there like he'd been shot by a cannon. While White made his comeback, but then the 2 heels took over on White, and this fucking idiot is still laying on the ground. Oh, Christ. But when they're actually in the ring beating on him, they put him through a goddamn table, and he'd be up on his feet in 15 seconds. But when he stands up and tags out, suddenly his goddamn respirator fucking quits functioning. To the break. And then they came back. They got heat on fucking White. Now we got a second set of heat. And it's long. And I just started skipping ahead at double speed to the end to see, will it ever end? And we got 2 more simultaneous cold tags. And then they traded forearms. Every goddamn match is the fucking same thing. And then they did a spot, and I'm talking about Pockets and Moxley. They did a spot where somehow Moxley finally took a bump for this fucking idiot. And then he hits the ropes, Pockets does, and comes running for the big wind-up and a big football kick. He's going to punt Moxley's head off. And he whiffed right past him. And Moxley sold that. He won't sell being hit by a goddamn mid-sized late model SUV, but if you fucking swing your foot within a foot of his head, he'll sell it. And it was so bad, oh goddamn, who'd they have on color? It may have been Nigel.
Nigel.
With half a mind said, well, I don't know if he got him full force.
It may have been the wind.
So, I mean, if he had tried to just sneak it in, it wouldn't have been so bad. But he hit the ropes and he ran 10 feet and he drew way back and he kicked right past him with everybody's attention on it. God damn it! Okay, I said we weren't going to have too much fun making fun of, but this shit, I said there was exceptions. And then I wrote this will not end because they did some more, and Pockets was hitting everybody with those buggy whip arms of his that, to quote Jerry Lawler in 1975, looked like mosquito bites on a strand of spaghetti. And then suddenly they're having a man. Pockets is going to fucking hit Moxley with another one of Roman Reigns' finishing moves. And suddenly, out of nowhere, Hangnail Adam Page just tackles Moxley and gets on top of him and starts hitting his own forearm and Moxley's forearm and a lot of fake punches in the area of Moxley's head. But Pockets he's shocked at all this. So he turns Page around and Page and Pockets gets in a Pockets gets in a fight with a guy that just tackled a guy that had been kicking the shit out of Pockets. But then Jay White gets mad at Page and he and Page start having a fight. But Pockets is still up, so Pockets goes to Superman punch Moxley, and Moxley moves out of the way and Pockets hits White instead, but he actually missed him again. By the way, I double dog dare anybody. You ain't got no hair on your balls, as Bobby Eaton used to say. If all of you out there who have the capability that the DVR gives you of slow motion, I could hand out $1,000 every time that fucking Orange Cassidy's fist came anywhere near a motherfucker's face on that goddamn fly swatter fucking Roman Reigns finish ripoff that he does, and I'd still be a wealthy man. He misses it every time. So Pockets Superman punched White, his partner in this thing, accidentally when Moxley moved, but then Pockets Superman punched Page, the guy that ran in apparently to help his team. And then White grabbed Pockets, who was his partner in this thing, and gave Pockets his finish. And then while everybody was down in the ring except for Moxley, who had left and had rolled out on the floor with the other heels, everybody was down. The fans were staring. And then Moxley and all his heels rolled back in and kicked the shit out of all the baby faces who were laying there, having just kicked the shit out of each other.
And the fans did not want to see more of the Moxley beatdown stuff, so they groaned audibly.
Yes, and then they're doing, and finally the fans came back with "fuck you, Yuta, fuck you." The fucking flunky in this, and he's like, "I will just say fuck you to him." This was the biggest goddamn mess I've ever seen in my life, and we must skip ahead a little bit. There was something else in the middle. We'll come back. Because when then Moxley and his bunch just walk off and leave, again, the baby faces just flat of their faces, laid out, stretched out, pissing their mouth while they're down there. What the fuck? And then they did a promo after the break and some other stuff. They come back, and that's where Moxley was doing that promo. I'm a marked man.
I'd have it no other way. What? Who's marked you?
Because
Who's marked you? Who? You're a mark.
In his mind, he wants all these opposing forces to come at him so that he can turn them back. And he is a mark man. I'll agree with you there.
I'm a marked man. Nielsen keeps trying to kill me. Fucking Nielsen.
But in turn, I killed him. And I mean, here's the thing. He's drooling and he's snarling and he's doing the twitch and he's trying to do a little homage to every crazy guy that's ever been in wrestling, all the shit they did all at the same time. And you can believe that this guy is unhinged. You just can't believe that he's a good wrestler or he's a big badass that's going to really fucking kill people. He's drooling and sniffing and twitching and shaking, and he's saying shit that is mostly incomprehensible. So the question is he drunk, as one of the fucking people later on in this program has alluded to his time in rehab, so that's open season now? Or is he tweaking?
You can call me Dick the Boozer.
He just found a new profession. He's not the Dick the Boozer. He's not a plumber anymore, folks. He's the world's most dangerous drunkard, Dick the Boozer.
The world's most dangerous plumber. Yeah, the promo makes no sense.
Chopping this, pal, kids, as we go along here.
And then he kept touching himself like Lex Luger back in the day. But that was in the middle of the match. It was still weird.
Well, Luger, on promos, he had a nervous, for the people who haven't been around for 35 years and were paying attention to this, Luger had a nervous habit when he was doing promos in the TBS studio at the podium. He would pick with one hand while he was pointing with his right hand. He would reach down and he would pick the tights off. He's loosening the tights that are squashing his dick, kind of. That would be probably the easiest way to describe that motion, right? I'm pulling these things off because they're tight on my cock. And it wasn't really a broad type of motion, but you could tell it was there if they happened to. So they started shooting him higher up. But in this case, Moxley is leaning over at the waist and he's drooling and slobbering and having a meltdown. And with both hands, he's grabbing his pants and pulling them off his dick. And apparently in this exhibition, the heel world champion challenged the two baby faces that he just left laying and the heel that he just left laying also to a four-way at the pay-per-view. So the world champion wants to now fight these three other guys, and even if one of them, according to their own rules, even if one of them were to beat the other one, and Lord knows they've been left on their face every time we see them, then he'd lose the belt and nobody has to beat him. So, which may be a godsend after all, but also, why would you want that match if you're the heel champion, and why would
he screamed
what's
it out,
happening here?
And when he screamed it out, he put all the emphasis on fatal. He's like, I want to fatal four-way. Yeah, I don't know. Again, when the baby faces all started beating each other up, the fans, they already didn't want to react to anything. Now they didn't know how to react because they kind of, the people that are there, the people that are susceptible to rooting for an Orange Cassidy, they didn't know what to do. He's beating up the other baby faces in the match. And then Moxley then going for the beatdown again. It's awful. This Death Rider stuff, I don't think there's anything that has united the hardcore AEW fan and the AEW dismisser more than the people who say the Death Rider stuff needs to come to an end and Jon Moxley should never, ever be involved in creative ever again.
Well, and
his or anyone else's.
Well, now, no, I think if he does go back for a stint at the farm, that maybe if they do plays and things, he might get some input there. But, and then before we go backward, I got to go ahead again because it tied into the same angle somehow. Remember Paige, Christian Cage is saying that if Paige hadn't fucked up and lived up to his part of the deal, then I'd be the world champion. But that deal has never been goddamn actually spelled out to people. They didn't even do a graphic like the Continental Classic chart where you can't tell what the fuck's going on anyway. It looks like somebody fired buckshot at a sheet. But Cage was in the skybox reacting to the whole exhibition we just saw, and that Moxley wants a 4-way. And he's got a problem with everybody in the match, and he wants Moxley or whoever wins or whatever, and he's going to send Moxley back to rehab. Of course, it was Christian, the Dead Parents Society president, that will also bring up when a guy's been in rehab. So at this point, Christian has been addressing the people in the front of this luxury suite or whatever they call it. It didn't look too luxurious, but we are in Kansas City. So at some point you have to, relinquish some standard. I'm just kidding, KC. But what he did was he walked from the front of this box area, suite area, where he could address the crowd and they could see him. He walked back into the room and then turned around and started talking again, specifically so that was the spot where they could get the camera shot of Hook showing up on the other side of the door behind him through the window in the fucking door. You see what I'm saying here to you, Brian?
I hear what you're saying. I saw it actually happen, yes.
Yes, and did that not look as awkward as fuck? Because there was no reason for him to back out of the lighting and everything. Oh, and then he starts talking again, so you see Hook standing there. And then Hook breaks the glass out of the door so he can open it from the inside. It looked like he had some experience with that, too. If I was Taz, I'd be keeping an eye on that young man when he goes out late at night. But then he jumps on Cage and they start fighting, and he beats on him all over the box. And I would have to think at some point, if I was one of the building representatives, unless I had Tony Khan's credit card on file, I would have been somewhat offended by shit they did in my fucking suite, wouldn't you?
Yeah, especially if they're the only people who have a suite at that event.
Well, but Jesus Christ, it wasn't just knocking over some popcorn and shit. They were slamming each other into the custom cabinetry. But anyway, Pip Sabian and Nick Plain ran in, and Hook, pickled them and ran off. And so again, we're half an hour into the show, and this has just been chaos with everybody beating everybody up.
And with Christian Cage getting the title shot, if they get the belt off Moxley, if someone like Darby wins it, if anyone wins it, and they immediately go to Christian Cage after all this, that'll be a problem. So how long is this going to last? He's been doing this for months now.
I wonder. Well,
when's Darby get his title shot? Darby gets a title shot, doesn't he?
Well, that's the thing. No, he gave it up to fight Moxley when Danielson was okay anyway, and then wrestled on the same show. And I don't know. But one would think out of this band of merry pranksters that, as odd as it sounds, Darby Allen may be their best choice to be the next fucking champion. Just in terms of if people are interested in him, because the rest of these dumb fucks have just nullified themselves into the ground.
Well, Jim, when you nullify yourselves into the ground, or when you are a wrestling fan, watching Jon Moxley's Death Riders put you to sleep.
Yes.
Like Moxley putting you in a choker, putting a plastic bag over your head, or trying to pour Drano, all the usual Moxley antics. You may just want to go to sleep and give up on wrestling for the night. You need a good mattress. You
need a great mattress, and I'll tell you what, that's why you and I have them. Boy, howdy there, friend Brian, because we need we need all the help we can get to sleep after we have to watch these nightmares of epic proportions. But you folks out there, let's say that life is beating you down, life is wearing you out. The fickle finger of fate is giving you the old proctological exam every morning when you wake up. You feel like you've been overnight dicked by the dangle dong of destiny. Well, that's because you're on these old sack of wheat mattresses. It might be straw in there, might be asbestos. You remember a lot of these mattress people use asbestos in the mattresses, Brian. You remember hearing about that.
I remember hearing about it. I can't speak for the current situation. I could say that Helix has none of that shit.
Well, that's what I'm about to say to you. None of that shit's going on. You're not going to be sleeping on old tree bark recycled with, tampons from the nuns downstream of the monastery. You're not going to be doing that. You're going to be sleeping on Helix mattresses that are custom made from their own manufacturers and suppliers with all the finest and highest quality ingredients and no barbed wire, no broken glass. And whether you're a big and fat person, well, they like to say big and tall, but if you're a tall person, you could just get 2 mattresses and put them end to end. But if you're a fat person, well, you need extra help. You can't just be sleeping on a Ziploc with a bunch of Jell-O brand gelatin in it. So whether you're big and tall or fat and corpulent, or whether if you sweat at night, you need a cool down mattress, I didn't believe it was possible, Brian, until we got ours here in the castle. But if you sweat when you sleep, this will cool you down. And you can still bundle up under the covers, but with the feeling that you're not dripping and exuding bacon grease from your pores in the middle of the night, where when you wake up, there's a wet ring around your chin. You know what I'm talking about? Certainly this happens to you.
What? No.
Well, it's gonna with the older you get. But you can sit on this mattress in the middle of the summertime, and your balls will shrivel up, and your peat will go back in the shed. That's how cool down it is. It's amazing. I didn't believe it was possible. They got a mattress that can help everybody. All you do is you go to helixsleep.com, HELIX sleep.com/JCE. And you look at the mattresses. They've got the various deluxe collections, the mattresses for the kids, the adults, the odd-shaped people, man's best friend. They got one for everything. And you take a little quiz. How do you like to sleep? On your back or on your side or curled up in a ball in a fetal position, shivering, shaking, and crying yourself to however you like to sleep.
The normal way, yes.
Yes, and then they will detect for you the kind of mattresses they have that you'd be most interested in, and boom goes Dynamite. And then it comes to you in a box, and just poof, there it became. You put it right on the bed, and poof, there it became. No more of these delivery men. As I mentioned before, sometimes 3 or 4 strange-looking men in an unmarked panel van which would show up to deliver.
I've said no several times, no.
Well, my previous mattresses, because they were big and they were cumbersome.
The men?
It would have both the men and the mattresses. And they would be in the house for hours bringing that mattress in because they'd have to stop in every room and for some reason or another take pictures of everything. But now you can just bring it right into your own home by yourself because it's in a box, and then you open the box and you poof, it kind of comes to life. It doesn't come to life like an I Love Lucy life raft. More of it just expands. It's like time-lapse photography of watching your children grow. Take video of it, and then you can have the family over at Christmas and you can say, watch how big our Helix Sleep mattress became. Whoo. Anyway, so you do that, and that's the best mattress you're going to, and nobody has been laying on these, unlike in the mattress store. You got all kinds of, you got blood, you got skin oils, you got sperm, you got a variety of things on those tester mattresses. You don't want to lay in that. These things are wrapped up in plastic, by cracky. Anyway, right now, go to helixsleep.com/JCE. You're going to get 20% off and 2 free pillows for all the mattress orders. 20% off, 2 free pillows. Go to sleep in style. Lay your weary head down on one of these wonderful pillows that complement one of these gorgeous mattresses, and you'll just melt. You'll just turn into butter. And you'll look like a fucking stain on the thing by the time you wake up the next morning. Just melted butter into the middle of. But it's easy to clean on a Helix Sleep mattress. They'll clean you off and the next owner of the house will take over.
Once again, it's a wonderful mattress. We have them here. We love them. The kids have them. They love them.
Just watch out for the melting.
There's no melting. There's no melting. And you will...
You don't have to get hot. I'm melting.
I'm trying to think of a transition from melting to melting away the prices of the bullshit mattresses and getting with Helix Sleep. Jim, how can the listeners do that right now?
Well, they can go to helixsleep.com/JCE. helixsleep.com/JCE.
Oh, well, that was a very nice ending. We will stop there because that was appropriate. Helix Sleep, friends of ours, they can be friends of yours, /JCE. Jim, back to Dynamite. Wake up.
Yeah. Well, let's go backwards now because we skipped over trying to keep all the programming in a understandable flow there. We skipped over, okay, last week I missed it because I was zipping. I thought it was a commercial, obviously, or something, because I didn't even know it was on until you mentioned it in the ratings analysis. But this week I was looking for it. The Bandido video. Brian, I don't want anybody to ever make fun of any low-budget video that I did in Smoky Mountain Wrestling with a
behind the dumpster.
Me being my own camera. There was no video there. Me being my own cameraman and or maybe Brian Hildebrand running camera and having a Radio Shack microphone and or the low budget extravaganzas that Jerry Jarrett and Randy West used to do in Memphis, or this was the hokiest. They've got brand new cameras and they obviously have a fucking budget. Because they were, at least able to rent this roadside fucking Old West town. I mean, I don't know where this is. Probably one would think out west somewhere, but they used to have an Old West town down 65 from Louisville here in Kentucky, and Kentucky's not part of the Old West.
It looked pretty cheap.
But it was really, it wasn't even, this wasn't even Pigeon Forge, Tennessee level, resort area Old West town. Oh, look, mommy, there's a blacksmith. No, and it was obviously closed because there was not a human being in sight except for these 4 outlaw wrestler looking fucks dressed up as cowboys. And they've got wanted posters out for Bandido. And they're acting and talking like they're desperados well, actually, they're not the desperados. I'm mixing up my Western terminology. Like they're the law that's going after this desperado. They say he's a fierce one. They're making a Western movie. These fucking morons are making a Western movie if Bandido was cool or did have any kind of cool personality or did do any cool moves. They've hoked him up so bad. Now this looked like when the Brady Bunch or the Partridge Family would go on location to an amusement park for a couple of episodes, right?
Yeah.
It was just Bandido rides into town on a fucking horse. The cowboys try to arrest him. And Bandido beats him up, but it was shot. And not only wasn't shot in real time, it was a montage video of him beating them up so that they could shoot it close and the camera angles wouldn't reveal that they weren't taking bumps on the goddamn dirt street. They had crash pads out, you could tell. You never saw anybody hit the fucking ground. And the whole thing was, you would probably see oh, God damn it. What was the old, was it Guntown on the River? They used to have a Western place, now, as I said, not far from here, something like that, where they would actually do and they had one in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, now that I think about it, an Old West street shootout. when I was like 9 years old, I saw one down there. You saw better bumps from the fucking yahoos working at the amusement park. And it looked more real. But so Bandido kind of beats these people up and then rides off on his horse. And there's a line there somewhere about him and the horse he rode in on. And this had to be the fakest thing I've ever seen on wrestling. And are cowboys cool now in hokey roadside Old West, nostalgia towns to the key demo?
Cowboy masked, muted cowboys? Because he doesn't talk, right? Is he from Mexico?
Well, yes, he didn't speak in this, and I don't know that I've ever heard him speak. To
the people who say AEW needs to do a better job of introducing people, they need to do vignette videos, they need to do things. Every wrestling company has successfully done them for at least 40 years. There's an argument that some people are making that this was great because that's what this was. Now I want to see Bandido once he gets off the dirt road and gets off that horse.
Wait a minute. What?
Maybe he can mosey or tope his way right into our hearts.
People are saying that's what this was?
This is Tony trying to do like a WWE style in the day.
No.
Razor Ramon walking around Miami. Yo, Chico. My name is El Bandido.
That shit was borderline phony, to be quite honest with you, too. But it had a fucking guy that could talk with charisma, and it was shot professionally, and it wasn't done in a goddamn closed up fucking roadside amusement park. This was so fake. And the acting wasn't good from whoever these cowboys or deputy sheriffs or whatever were. And again, is the key demo clamoring for a Zorro remake out of this, supposedly cool, flashy Mexican lucha libre star that they're taking him to Guntown on the river. I don't understand. I thought the height of the Westerns era in the United States, at least in pop culture, was the 50s and 60s. Was it not?
I would say so, based on television, yeah.
So what the fuck are they doing here for the kids?
Yeah, Zorro did promos. I wouldn't say that's
well, and Zorro did speak. Okay, all right. Anyway, I've beaten that horse he rode in on enough. Would you like to go now to the tournament match they did between Will Ospreay and Claudio Castagnoli? It's the Continental Tournament round robin. 3 people have 6 points now. I saw on the fucking graph. And you got to think there's, in the old days when there was 10 million people and a bunch of them were guys 18 to 34 watching wrestling on Monday nights of some kind or another, Raw or Nitro, right? If they'd have showed some shit like that, half those guys were people that had already drunk a 6-pack of beer just waiting to see Austin come out and stunner somebody. And they'd been sitting looking through bleary eyes into what the fuck is that?
Yeah, it's not like brackets. It's just, here's points.
Yes. Well, when you also, I'm sorry, but when you have a match in a tournament where if you lose the match, you're still in the tournament, you've automatically lost most people, haven't you? Not even lost them as confused them, but just lost them to give a shit.
Again, this is something from Japanese wrestling. I don't think that American wrestling fans, I don't think that sort of system has really worked yet for American wrestling. Despite the success of the Continental Classic last year.
Was it successful last year?
I think the ratings may have gotten a little bit better for like a week or two.
Good Lord. The first week or two? Or the ratings got better weekly, very weekly. No, but I'm just, nothing's getting better about their ratings right now. I don't think this tournament's going to help. But when you're taking random matches amongst heels or baby faces or just cold matches in general, and you're having a tournament, and then if the person loses the match, he's still in the tournament. You have lost the most people to give a shit about that particular fucking match. Well, he can't grieve forever. He'll live to fight again. That type of thing. Well, it's just people who want to see these random fucking matches with guys, doing a bunch of the same shit for no fucking reason. And they rang the bell on Ospreay and Claudio, and Ospreay did a flip and a dive to the floor in the first 10 seconds. And then I saw that Rick Knox was the referee, the corpse. So I wrote down, I bet this will go forever. So I fast forwarded the son of a gun. And I was right after 13 minutes of this. Will Ospreay won with a jackknife 1, 2, 3. But then Claudio jumped him and beat him up and went outside to get a chair to come back in and beat him up some more. And Darby's music played for 5 seconds, and Darby came out with a baseball bat, and Claudio just hopped off. Here comes Claudio.
Like a rabbit.
He hopping down the Claudio trail, hopped the rail and ran off. And when he did that, then Darby turned around and fucking left. And Ospreay, I thought would have probably been a choice to be their next babyface champion. But is he now just another one of the boys where he's just having these 15, 20-minute matches with everybody, and Felcher beat him, and he beat Claudio, but then Claudio beat him up. He's one of the guys now, isn't he?
Yeah. They had a moment there where even with the bad booking, the fans were treating him differently. They were popping for him differently. And since the MJF stuff, they did the stuff with him and Fletcher. Maybe some good wrestling, but they immediately used him to elevate someone when he still needed elevation. And now he's in this tournament. So now you're just seeing him against, you put anyone in there with Claudio for 10 minutes or more, and it's going to cause people to want to jump off the roof. I just think that's the reality of Claudio. And Ospreay's not special. He's just, Ricochet's not special. Ricochet came in. And, same thing. But I think Ospreay's now become just one of the AEW guys. Dave Meltzer said this week something like, no one books the matches. The guys decide what they want to do in a match. There's no one saying, like, you should, this should only be 5 minutes and you should go over strong. It's just everyone doing what they want. And I think Ospreay will do the stuff he wants, and he'll be exactly where he is.
Well, funny you mentioned the other guy, because Ricochet followed this up. He was in the back with Renee Moxley Good. And I wrote, oh, God, he's going to talk. And he was talking about Brody King and his tournament match tonight. But what was the comment that they were making on Twitter about Ricochet and his interviews?
This is why WWE never gave him a mic.
Yeah. They should have given him that Twilight Zone episode surgery where the guy bet the other guy that he couldn't refrain from speaking for a year, and he'd give him like a life-changing amount of money. And then after the year, the guy had never spoken. He said, all right, you won, you beat me, but I don't have the money. I can't pay you. I never thought you'd be able to go through with it. I'm broke. I'm destitute. And then the guy fucking pulls his shirt open and revealed that to win the bet for the money that he wanted, he had his vocal cords severed. I'm surprised they didn't have somebody cut Ricochet's vocal cords. He might be a bigger star if you didn't hear him spin, and maybe break his fingers so he can't talk on Twitter. If Ricochet could not communicate in any way with the fans, I think he'd be a superstar.
See, Lucha Underground had it right. They made him a masked luchador with a manager. He didn't talk at all.
Well, remember, that's the idea when I saw him as Ricochet in NXT or whatever. That's the idea I had for him, not knowing that they'd already done it. Because he doesn't do himself any favors, not only when he doesn't argue and whine and bitch at random fans on Twitter over and over, but also when he just sounds like such a fucking goofus or a doofus. What letter would precede oofus?
I think you could use either one of them. If you're a goofy and a doofus, it's goofus, so it depends on what you think. The other thing is, if you notice, they're doing more of those WWE-style introductions that they were doing on Raw under the previous regime, where Renee, it was even her back then doing it, says, "Ladies and gentlemen, here is my guest, Ricochet." And then the person awkwardly walks in from a foot away, and they don't say anything for like a weird second. And then, all right, you got no pop. Let me go into the questioning.
Yeah, well, see, they're thinking the people at home are in their living room are popping. Guys sitting there in his fucking semen-stained underwear with his hand in his crotch, the other hand in a fucking bag of microwave popcorn, and hadn't shaved in 3 days, but he's going to start cheering, and you don't want your first words to be drowned out by the people at home popping. It's odd, very odd. They're all odd. They're all odd. And then an SUV pulled up, and part of MJF got out. We saw his finger with his ring. We saw the back of his head. I think somebody shot his left kidney for a second. And then that got the biggest pop so far on the show, didn't it?
I don't know, actually. It was in the back. It was on the video screen, I guess, to the front. Couldn't really tell.
Well, no, they just had the back door open, and all the people could see in the parking lot when the SUV pulled up. And I'm being a wise ass here, but yes, it was. That's the point, is seeing a part of MJF's anatomy, and not even the best part, on the screen got a bigger pop than most of these yahoos kicking the shit out of each other live in front of these people. And I think they're going to fuck that up too, aren't they? Is MJF the star or is he the star, but he has no other stars in which to interact with?
You know, we've seen more feedback about this lately than ever before. I think MJF, based on the booking, based on the stuff with Adam Cole, based on the fact it's still going on, I think MJF lost a lot of goodwill with the fans in terms of you could rely on his segments being the kind of wrestling you want. We definitely have seen a lot of feedback about it. And they've hurt him. He's not as strong as he was. They forced the babyface turn. Jericho brought it up. Jericho started throwing it out there all the time. Tony was hearing it. MJF went along with it, obviously. And there are good things about that. You know, the Brochachos sold a lot of shirts. But in terms of long-term, what it meant for AEW, MJF should have been the forever heel, and they needed to find baby faces for him. And they blew that, and I just think all the stuff with him and Adam Cole, it's as endless as the Jericho stuff was. Remember how badly we wanted all that to end?
Oh, yeah. This has gone on so much longer because everybody needs to stay healthy long enough for them to resolve it. That's taken 2 years.
So, yeah, you say, are they going to ruin it? Yeah. Because MJF's back, I didn't pop because I know he's about to interact with Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly, and I don't want to see this.
Well, as a matter of fact, that interaction was about to come up, but before we got the 9 o'clock hour with Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly and the winner getting MJF, we were in the back again with Renee and Matt Cardona. And he said it's great to be back. The people were shocked when he showed up. So was I right then. Has he been here? Did they preface this by saying this was on Rampage? Where did he's fighting Jericho at Final Battle, but where did he show back up?
I don't know. I mean, he's made an appearance or two way back. I think even when Cody was there, because he's friends with Cody.
Well, yes, but I mean, like last week or whatever on Rampage that was viewed by 114 people and 2 second story men in Ottumwa, Iowa?
I don't know, but I saw quotes a while back from Matt Cardona, an interview he did somewhere, just saying how he's surprised based on what he's done in the indies the last few years that AEW and WWE haven't given him a call. And I was actually surprised too, especially when it's AEW and they're desperate for anyone they can get in there. So it's probably a good move to do something with him.
Well, would he have heat because he was friends with Cody?
Well, I think the other interesting thing is, isn't he one of the guys who wrestles regularly? I say he does stuff on the indies for GCW, who AEW apparently just pulled Willie Mack like a week before those two shows coming up.
Wait, ho. Willie Mack. How did AEW pull Willie Mack? Does Willie Mack work for AEW? And have we seen him in 5 years? What?
Well, here's an article real quick from the Wrestling.
Here goes the rabbit hole now. Find the AEW employee.
The Wrestling Observer website.
It's harder than looking for Earhart.
Listen, the Wrestling Observer website has an article here by Brian Rose. Willie Mack pulled from GCW events. Willie Mack apparently won't be appearing for GCW anytime soon. The promotion told Fightful on Monday that Mack has been pulled from his upcoming events, scheduled to face Sidney Akeem Scripps at Highest in the Room 3.
What?
That's the name of the event, Highest in the Room 3, on December 14th. So, I mean, they pulled him a couple days before the show. GCW claimed to Fightful today that Willie Mack has been pulled. The company's under the impression that this stems from Effie's comments, as AEW has no shows scheduled next week. Willie Mack is under AEW contract.
Okay.
Been used primarily for Ring of Honor. His last match was in October, losing to Commander on an episode of Ring of Honor television.
Jesus Christ, isn't Willie Mack like 300 pounds?
So a guy that you're not using, who you last used a couple months ago on Ring of Honor, says Ring of Honor television. There is no television. Ring of Honor's streaming show. They pulled him after they pulled Ricky Starks. But yeah, Cardona had been wrestling for them for a while, so I don't know if one thing has anything to do with the other.
He's kind of the War of the Outlaws. No wonder Bandido is being sought after. He's going to be the top outlaw.
But again, this goes to the idea of the problems with AEW. One of the problems. You bring in Matt Cardona. This is a guy who has been working his ass off apparently on the indies to build a name and come up with a new gimmick, just do his own thing, and it's worked. You're bringing him in not to be featured on Dynamite. You're bringing him in to feud with Chris Jericho or have a match with him over the Ring of Honor, a promotion that doesn't have a TV show. The Ring of Honor Championship on that pay-per-view. You know, to me, that's part of the problem. How many things on this show promote things that sound kind of more interesting maybe on Collision or Rampage, but not interesting enough to make you want to see it? They're always promoting these other things instead of just, here's our brand, here's our show, here are our stars, you can see them again next week.
Well, and you would have to devote on the week that they do the pay-per-view, if you were to watch all the shows that they're trying to get you to watch, you would have to devote, let's see, 4, 6, 8, 9 hours to just watching the programs that they're doing that week. And so you have to tell some kind of coherent story from show to show with talent that that people are familiar with in the company, not just on this particular brand of pro. Oh, he's with AEW, not he's on Rampage. And you can't just do shit mostly on another program and then have this guy pop up and say, "It's great to be back. When'd you come back?" "Oh, I'm going to be on pay-per-view from a streaming show on a secondary promotion on the first day of a 3-day stand in a small building in New York." Kind of hard for most people to keep track of.
Did you see the FTR promo? Did you skip past that?
I skipped it because I was afraid that somebody was going to try to pour bleach down somebody's neck again. What did they say?
Well, what they said was surprising. They said, Death Riders, we don't really have a problem with you. I'm like, you don't have a problem with them. You just stopped them from trying to murder someone backstage with a funnel. They had a funnel. So yeah, they're going to be wrestling.
They don't really. We don't really want to piss you guys off because we know how bad you are, and y'all kick the shit out of us. What is with these fucking baby faces in this company? The other O'Reilly came out and told Adam Cole and the rest of them, "Stay away from MJF. He's going to kick a shit out of you." You don't stand a chance. Now FTR's like, hey, now, guys, we don't have a problem with you. We don't want this to escalate any further.
In the opening match, you had three of the baby faces just kick the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
The heels.
At least they found somebody they could whip. So anyway, back to some of these baby faces. So now the 9 o'clock hour was entrusted with the winner gets MJF, Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly. And Taven and Bennett had tried to talk O'Reilly out of it. Don't do that, but he blew him off, right? And so, I mean, as an independently viewed wrestling match, just on basis of execution, there was nothing wrong with this, obviously, but it's just, I sat back thinking, when they were tag team partners in Ring of Honor in 2010, 11, and they were, Kyle was legitimately Davey Richards, second in command in the car from St. Louis and understudy, and they were going to MMA classes. And so they had a tag team, but we made Cole kind of, Eddie Edwards' guy so that we could have that rivalry. But they were talented. They were the next stars of Ring of Honor in 2011. They were the next stars of wrestling in general. But now, unfortunately, their careers have mostly come and gone at this point. The height of it was in NXT during the Undisputed Era, where I think all of those guys probably could have had a good shot at the main roster as a unit and been entertaining. They didn't miss any, long-term WWE champions out of the group. I'm not saying that, but God, ever since that fell apart, the NXT group, and they trickled to AEW, it's been the death of both of them. And Bobby Fish is a corpse floating in a river these days. But the booking, the injuries, the bad luck, the who knows what else. Their strengths have been mostly negated or, nullified, and their weaknesses have been accentuated. O'Reilly has always done an MMA-influenced kind of wrestling style that I think would appeal to a modern audience better than most. With the flexibility that he had and still has, but he's had a serious neck injury. But with the way that he incorporated that shit into a pro wrestling style and the things he could do and the kicks and the knees and blah, 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 he did it better than most people. He looks like Hoist Gracie next to John Moxley, but it's never been booked or exploited right to me, because that needed to be. You don't just make a guy like that really is not impressive physically and can't cut a real commanding promo, but has a unique kind of work style that looks good and believable. You need to make that style more of the story of him and cater to it and exploit it and hide the weaknesses, which is the promo and the fact that he's rangy. So you have him doing a variety of those stretch moves, the shoot moves, so that his height is accentuated by the announcers and his thinness and ranginess, etc. But that's never been done. And since we started doing it 15 years ago or whatever. And Adam Cole is a tremendous promo. That was always his strongest point. But he could also work, and he used to be in great shape. But now a guy that can work and do things while looking like he does now just kind of makes it look like anybody can do this shit. And we've gone over and the injuries, unfortunate freak, whatever. And the bad booking and the devil and so now you've got two guys that, holy fuck, could they have been treated any worse by the matchmaker of this organization, having a solid indie style, modern style match that needed a lot more sauce to make it interesting? Would you say that my evaluation is somewhat correct?
I'd say this was like Ring of Honor's Slamboree. And, again, I'm sick of both guys. I agree with you about Kyle O'Reilly. That's why I never completely give up on him, but time's running out. Who's going to book him? Who's the person that's going to book him well? There is no one. And Adam Cole, I'm completely done with. I don't want to see Adam Cole anymore. I don't believe there's a single person he wrestles that he could beat in a wrestling match. And now he's going to, and now if he beats MJF, you ask about if they've done damage to MJF. If MJF loses to Adam Cole, if that's the final ending of this, does that help anyone?
No. The fact that they're even going to touch each other again does not help anybody. But, and that's what happened here. Cole, and here's another thing on his finish. What the fuck? Cole super kicked O'Reilly on the floor and then rolled him in the ring. And as the referee was checking O'Reilly, and I've seen goddamn complex proctological examinations done in less time of people than this referee was taking with the... But MJF appeared and swung at Adam Cole with the diamond ring, but Cole ducked and super kicked him. And then O'Reilly schoolboyed. After you couldn't see MJF anymore, he was off the edge of the ring. Then O'Reilly schoolboyed Adam Cole and got a 2 count. And then O'Reilly spun around and got him in an ankle lock, and Cole small packaged him 1, 2, 3. And what the fuck? Because if MJF does not want Adam Cole to win, and that's why he came out to try to interfere, the thing that got the pop here was Adam Cole super kicking MJF because, it's MJF taking a bump. But then they just finished the match flat. If they'd have thought to themselves, you do the super kick, boom, he gets nailed onto the apron. Then O'Reilly comes up from behind fucking Cole with the fucking schoolboy, right? And as O'Reilly's got him stacked up, MJF is clambering back up on the apron, and just as he gets up there, Cole kicks out of the pin, and O'Reilly flies backwards into goddamn MJF, and boom, and he takes another bump, they get another pop, and then he falls forward into the goddamn deal. But instead, they had Kyle get back on the offense by himself for Cole to reverse, which meant that Cole just beat him. But anyway, and not surprisingly, Kyle O'Reilly then walked off from Adam Cole without shaking his hand. Oh, good Lord.
Keep walking. Back to NXT. Get the fuck out of there.
I don't know if he still has the keys. Do you? Boy. Can he get in down there?
I was actually hoping O'Reilly would win. I'd rather see him against MJF.
It would have been different. We haven't seen it.
Well, that was that exciting segment. You have to wonder what it's going to be like one day.
I'm wondering right now which way this will go.
Well, it can go a lot of ways, and you have to wonder which way will it go one day. When Adam Cole says, who am I fooling? It's time to do what wrestlers do when they grow up. I don't know, become a substitute teacher, whatever it may be. I need a haircut. I need a shave. We know who can help him get that first shave of his new career.
Well, as a matter of fact, we're talking about some of these guys. It may be the first shave of their life. Because I don't see a lot of hair follicles on some of these boys' testiculars. But I'll tell you what, our friends at Harry's, folks, if you want your face to be slicker than a con man on Bourbon Street, if you want to look good and smell good and feel good and project an aura of handsomosity and beautifuliciousness and attractiveness to the opposite sex or even the same sex or any kind of sex for that matter, no matter what your standards are, you're going to look pretty good if you let the folks at Harry's fix you up with their fine quality products, and especially the Harry's Holiday Craft Set. Have you heard about the craft set for the holidays that's now being offered by our friends at Harry's, makers of the finest shave products?
Oh, of course, it's craftacular.
It's craft as opposed to craptacular, which many of the items are that you come across at the holiday time. Harry's has put together an incredible gift box. It comes in a rich, sleek green box that's going to stand out. No gift wrapping is required, and it contains one of the craft handles, the weighted razor handle, the ergonomically designed to fit comfortably in your hand handle that is the key to the excellence, one of the keys to the excellence of the Harry shaving experience, because it's a no grip slip or a no slip grip. You won't slip with the grip on this tip right here. You get a secure hold on it, is what I'm saying.
That's what you're saying. You won't slip with the grip here on the tip.
You'll slip with the grip here on the tip because you're going to get a good grip on this handle. And you can engrave the handle. It's engravable. You can personalize this with available engraving options. I had the handle of my razor engraved to look like one of the statues on Easter Island. But that's just me. But anyway, besides the
stone sentinels?
Yes, the big heads, the big chins, the Antonio Inokis of Easter Island. But in addition to the weighted razor handle, ergonomically designed to fit comfortably in your hand with a no-slip grip and is engravable and has a flexible hinge designed to fit the contour of your face, and you're going to get the German-engineered blades made in Harry's own factory in Himmelberg that stay sharp longer for a smooth shave every time. So Harry's straight from Himmelberg right there to your face, and you're also going to get your choice of foaming shave gel or shave cream and a travel blade cover. So a craft handle, the shave gel or the shaving cream, two extra blades, and they're multi-blades. It depends on how you're quantifying this. You get two of the blade cartridges that have several blades because, that's the thing that they do these days. And you get the travel blade cover. And it's a risk-free purchase because Harry's offers a 100% money-back guarantee. And all you do is go to Harry's, HARRYS.com/JCE. That's how you get the engraving and the various. Actually, if you didn't use the /JCE, they'd probably just put it in a garbage bag and send it to you media mail.
Once again, slash away that facial hair with Harry's. Harry's.com/JCE for the Harry's Holiday Craft Set. I just said it.
And
oh, go ahead.
I was about to say they have also at other things at Harry's.com, the amazing smelly good things that they have, the deodorants and the lotions and potions and things to take the scent out of your taint, body washes, and a variety of things to keep you smelling good and feeling good and looking good and clean and organized. And you can actually, I understand, you can bleach your butthole with some of their products also.
Now, again, I don't know where you're going, and we were so close to the end and getting out on a good note. Harry's.com, you say it. What's that promo code, Jim?
JCE, I'll tell you what, you'll get out a good note if you get your butthole bleached. It'll be a high C, all right.
Once again, that's not what they do. What's the actual link, Jim?
Oh, the actual link, Harry's.com/JCE. But about these buttholes.
All right, it's a close shave, but we're back.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
AEW Dynamite.
You're playing a stingers coming out of the ad breaks, huh?
AEW Dynamite now shaving away the ratings.
Well, I'll tell you, Tony Schiavone, he looks like he should be in a Volkswagen Beetle following the Grateful Dead around half the time, doesn't he? He's got an earring sometimes. He's very hairy hirsute for he's an older man than I am, trying to regain his former glory with a little hair dye, some shoe polish. What was I talking about?
What was it on this show that happened? And they cut back to the desk and Shivani's like, what a great AEW moment. I'm like, oh, shut the fuck up.
Well, he was sitting down with Darby Allen here, and Darby was talking about Dick the Boozer, the world's most dangerous plumber.
I really won you over with that one.
And I'm telling you, hold on, where I'm writing this down, Dick the Boozer. I
thought Snoozer Brody was going to be the winner this year, ladies and gentlemen.
No, because I don't want to make fun of Brody. But anyway, this epitomized to me, this Darby Allen interview, how they don't understand how to present themselves. How they just can't figure out that only their small indie audience is as smart as they think everybody is. And to the rest of a television viewing audience, they come off goofier than a fucking rainbow trout in a car wash. Darby is talking about how everybody's scared of Moxley's bunch, first of all, but he says, I understand why the young guys here don't want to get involved, because this is the first time they've made a living off pro wrestling. Did you hear that line?
Yes, from seasoned veteran Darby Allen. I did hear it.
But what the fuck is wrong with? Yes, we can tell that it's the first time they've made a living off pro wrestling by watching them. You don't need to back it up verbally. That's why they don't understand how to present either themselves or some of the other people on their roster as stars. Remember when we were talking about Vince when his last few years there, everybody that was coming out to do a promo in the WWE was saying, oh, this is my childhood dream. I've always wanted to be here. Vince loved that. I went through the childhood dream in 1996 with Shawn Michaels. Vince loved that, and he got stuck on it. He was like, what are they, when they spam the thing? His button was stuck. But do you hear me?
My childhood dream was about shitting on an egg.
And that's where his button got stuck.
The egg.
But now that the WWE is so successful, do you hear people go, oh, I'm so happy and lucky to be here. And I'd be nothing without. No, they're being presented like fucking stars of professional athletes. Point is, Darby here not only says that all the baby faces and all the young talent and or all the people that might stand up to Moxley, they're scared to do it because they don't want to rock the boat and lose their jobs because it's the first time they've ever made a living off pro wrestling. What kind of amateur hour bullshit is this then? And then he started punching himself in the mouth. And then he spit blood out of his mouth because I don't care about this, the violence, but I care about. Number one, if you notice, there were a lot of edits in this piece that were covered up with B-roll because I guess he couldn't get this whole thing out all at the same time, but also so he could slip the fucking blood into his mouth because where he punched himself, he'd have done a better job of knocking a tooth out, and then he just kind of spit this big clump of blood instantly, and then no more. I don't know what the fuck's going on. And why are we supposed to admire a son of a bitch that will punch himself in the face and draw blood, not trying to get out of a fucking arrest or lawsuit? See, I put that caveat in there because I've done that before in search of one of those goals. But what the fuck was this?
This is the kind of interview they used to do with Jim Ross, remember? He would sit down with the talent and have them awkwardly try to explain whatever it is they're trying to say.
What have you got to say for yourself?
The more Darby talks, like, he gets you for a moment. He gets you with the whole rah-rah feelings. And then he loses you, and you're like, I don't really want to stand with this guy. They had a moment. It's interesting looking back now, everyone who thought he should have been the person to defeat Danielson for the title instead of Moxley. Here we are a few months later. It couldn't have been any worse.
Well, moving on, it can get worse. Oh, yes, it can. Another tournament match, Ricochet versus Brody King. So I decided when the bell rang to fast forward 11 minutes in and see what would happen. Ricochet foiled Brody King's superplex off of the top rope by hitting him with repeated fake blows to the back. He looked like a small child having a temper tantrum. And it's not like you could cover this up. There was nothing else to look at. Right? It was just them on the ropes, and he's going, wah, 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 on the guy's back. And then he hits him with a power blom. A power blom. He put some extra mustard on it. A power blom off the ropes. And then he goes to the top rope, Ricochet does on the other side. And Brody King has to lay on his back but squirm about 5 or 6 feet to the left to put himself in the right place. So Ricochet comes off the top rope with the shooting star press. And that's the made famous by Brock Lesnar, where you jump off, you do a backflip, and you land smack dab on top of the other guy, right? And he does this. He does the shooting star press, and he lands right on top of Brody King and bounces off of him a little bit even, and he goes to cover the guy. And Brody King grabs him by the throat like the Undertaker, and no cells getting landed on by that fucking splash, and just stands up and slaps a sleeper on him. And again, Ricochet came in with all this fanfare. And he had some goodwill, and the people were interested. And now he's given these big finishes off the top rope to middle card guys that are just, fuck you. You're a gnat. I'm an elephant. There you go.
The other thing, too, is Brody King here. This is the second time on the show. I think Adam Cole did it earlier. Noticeably, and again, a lot of it's on the camera people, I guess, but still, it's happening. Noticeably put himself into place. And I mean, with Brody King here, was basically as the move was happening, he was still putting himself into place. But Adam Cole did it earlier for the O'Reilly match.
Well, I mean, and there's a lot of that goes on that people don't notice, or it's not worth calling attention to. And it's, part of half-ass being professional. But when you've got to traverse 5 or 6 feet while you're supposedly laying immobile and stunned, that starts to stretch things. But because the guy didn't land in the right place, and he looked up, he's like, oh shit, maybe he could have stood up or not stood up, but sat up and fucking rolled a minute, or I don't know what the fuck, but he's just squirming. But anyway, then they had removed one of the turnbuckle pads off the top turnbuckle in the corner. So Ricochet, he figured out they're fighting on the ropes, and he DDT'd Brody King head first onto the bare turnbuckle while Brody King was still standing on a second rope. Well, then he kicked Brody King's foot off the rope so that Brody King dropped face first on the exposed buckle again. And then when he took him up back in the ring and was on his knees, he clotheslined him twice while King was on his knees and couldn't even take a decent bump. 1, 2, 3. It took almost 15 minutes, and another one of these fucking flat-ass finishes where the guy just beats the fucking guy when there's no pop to it, or no unexpected, or no twist, or no... But that was that.
I know you'll disagree with me, but I actually don't mind Brody King. He's been growing on me. I think he's pretty good for a big man.
Like a tumor?
He moves around really good for a big man. Does he need to be produced? Sure he does. But he's not as bad as I remember him being when he first got there.
Well, maybe Ricochet was bad enough for the both of them. But boy,
has his stock fallen? Has Ricochet's stock fallen in the last... When did they do the angle where he got laid out and everyone was wondering if he was ever going to come back? Was it July? June?
Something like that, yeah. He's pissed off all the people that he's argued with individually on Twitter. That's a couple of 100,000. Think about it.
Yeah.
He's not an interesting person when you see who the person is. That's why he needed a gimmick and to be protected, which he kind of was over there. Did you ever hear him talk much, if at all? Oh, well, speaking of talking, if not much, then not at all. Did you see the pitch out of this match where this show was continuing to fucking head down the porcelain throne?
I don't remember. What was after this match?
Well, it was an interview in the back with Private Party.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you saw this segment.
With Lio Rush and Action Andretti walking in, but our friend Sockface, the lead announcer on this fiasco, did the pitch to let's go backstage to hear from Lio Rush and Action Andretti. And they go to the fucking promo, and it's Private Party saying, "Hi, we're Private Party." And then they start talking about being the tag team champions for a second. And then in walk Lio Rush and Action Andretti to confront them. So apparently we can also call Sockface Nostradamus.
Did you see what they were wearing?
Well, yeah. Were they inflatable octopus outfits? What was that?
Whatever it is, I definitely want to see this tag team. Anything Lio Rush does, it'll last weeks. And it'll be something you'll smile about when you remember it.
But it's like if you were wearing... Well, remember the kid in Willy Wonka that inflated himself and floated up to the ceiling? If you were like wearing something like that, only with spikes all over.
Yeah, it had like shards, or I don't even know if you want to say spikes, but just...
They looked like swimming pool toys. Didn't they? Because when we say spikes, we're talking about inflatable spikes. We're not talking about actual metal spikes.
They seemed very comfortable. What made it work was they seemed very comfortable wearing whatever they were wearing. I definitely want to see, put that on Dynamite instead of the Moxley stuff. Lio Rush and Action Andretti's all-star tag team.
As the lifeguards?
As whatever they want to do. Just let them...
They're wearing pool toys.
It's AEW. Let them book their own segments.
Well, they came in and argued with Private Party, and then... Have Top Flight, Dante, and Darius Martin, have they become heels now? And they walked in with some girl.
No, that's Layla Gray. You pay your respect.
Is that
that's Layla Gray.
I don't fucking know. But they're heels now, right? Because they've got a snotty girl and they're talking in a snotty fashion.
I don't know. I couldn't tell because she immediately went to the other side, if you notice. When everyone was arguing, she was standing next to Lio Rush and Action Andretti.
Well, no, but she was standing next to him, but she wasn't looking at him. She was standing there because she could pose for the camera and turn in a seductive way better. She didn't have any idea what was going on behind her.
She had maybe the best side boob in wrestling history going on here, if you notice what was going on. That's why she stood at that angle. But Noah, I'm intrigued by anything going on with this Lio Rush Action Andretti. Action Andretti looks like the illegitimate child of Jimmy Del Rey. And that's all I think about whenever I see him. He's kind of a scuzzy Jimmy Del Rey kind of character. And Lio Rush is always like weeks away from falling out with someone. So I want to see more of that TT. I want to see more of that TT. I want to see more of that tag team.
TT. Well, I guess we're going to see them on something because they all insulted each other and everybody argued. But Leo and one of the Martin brothers shook hands before they walked off.
And that's the thing. It's ridiculous because he leans his hand in the shake and you're looking at his jacket and the fucking inflatable spikes or whatever they are. You're like, he's acting so serious while wearing the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen a human being wear. That's why Lio Rush works. He's serious about the ridiculous.
And ladies and gentlemen, the Lio Rush fan club, Brian Last has sent in his permission slip. All right. Are we going to talk about the All-In Texas on sale package?
Oh, boy. How many fans did you count in those very closely cropped shots of the fans right at that barricade?
That's the thing. It was sad. That's what I was talking about earlier. You know, you start to not even take any pleasure in pointing out the ludicrosity of what's going on here. They tried to put a package together of the on sale extravaganza they put on with the talent outside the stadium that they're still saying they're going to run next summer. And it was TV action footage, shots of the stadium empty. It's a great looking stadium. And here's the drone shot from overhead. There's nobody in it. And it's just sitting here. And then the talent. I mean, Lashley was there. Bryan Danielson Sting was there. In face paint.
I got a problem with that. Bryan Danielson, the last time we saw him on TV, he lost his final match to Moxley and almost died. They tried to kill him again. This is the first time we've seen him on TV since then, isn't it?
Happy as a pig in shit.
Raising his arms up like he has no neck problems or no problems with anything whatsoever. First time we've seen him since the Death Riders rode death on him.
Yeah, and broke his neck. But all that talent was on a stage talking in front of a nice little press conference backdrop, talking to 25 people in a parking lot. When you saw either the still pictures from people or unedited phone camera footage from people, they had like a bicycle rack barricade that there were people lined up 2 abreast for like 20 fucking feet. And Sting was there. How do you advertise a Sting autograph session even and only get 25 people? And that's why I said in face paint, I talked to a fucking guy that did a lot of booking of talent at convention. He ran conventions, so he booked a lot of talent. He knew what he was paying people. And he said, I have to pay Sting. I can't remember what he said, 10, 15 grand, but it's $5,000 extra if he puts his face paint on. And wait, he's charging you $5,000 to paint his face? Yeah, otherwise he wears the sunglasses. Oh, well, God damn it. How can you have all those people there and only get 25 people or whatever the fuck it was? Help me. I bet you're on mute.
I'm trying to think of how to even say it anymore. The product is ice cold. Nobody cares about it. I don't know how much local promotion they did for the on sale, but considering how bad they've been with local promotion for all sorts of things, who knows how it was.
You could have stood up on fucking Interstate 35 and flagged people into the parking lot and got 200.
You could have done a lot of things differently than the way they've done it so far. And again, Bryan Danielson, the last time we saw him, we didn't know if he was going to live. And here he is. He's just happy to be there.
It's nice to see that, it's the miracle of modern science and modern medicine, Brian.
Brian, it's Tony. I need you to get out of bed for these 35 people here at this barricade. Fly to Texas. That's the other thing, like you said. They moved Australia indoors. How the hell are they going to run a stadium that's, 40,000 capacity, not counting seats on the floor?
And they're set up for 25,000.
And what would you say, 20 if they're lucky right now? That would be
Oh, Jesus Christ. How are they going to get 20,000 people right now anywhere in this country?
If they were lucky. If they were able to get people to just say, hey, this is my summer vacation, a nice trip to Arlington. Perhaps that's what they're thinking. I don't know, but what do they have to fill? I mean, they had Sting there. Sting's retired. You can't bring him back because otherwise you fucked everyone who bought the biggest pay-per-view you ever had. Bryan Danielson, they said it was his last regular match, so you at least have the out there, but who the fuck do you want to see him wrestle? You don't want to see him wrestle Moxley again? Like, it's not about I need to see him get his revenge. Just like, if he could wrestle again against anyone and function, I'll be happy. There's nothing. They have nothing on the horizon to get into that stadium.
Well, speaking of nothing on the horizon, unless you were looking for a moon, you probably didn't like the main event of this television show. The women's title on the line, Mariah May versus Mina Mellons. Good God, I wrote, this is the main event. And I started watching this thing, and if I want to watch two clumsy, drunk strippers, they need to be wearing less clothing. And otherwise, they had an overrun for this. And they fucked up the overrun because the whole idea is to get people hooked at the top of the hour, right? They went to break at 9:58 and came back at 10:01. They were in break at the top of the hour on a fucking women's match. And then Mariah May won, and Thunder Rosa was in the front row, not happy with a sign and pissed off. And then Toni Storm walked out in her old outfit and in color and stood there. What a way to end the show. It's breaking down in fucking Kansas City.
What are they going to do about Luther?
Where is Luther?
I don't know. He was her butler when she was black and white and crazy.
Well, I know, and he did a lot of buttling. He was the butt of many jokes, and they got to still be paying him. I bet they've made him some kind of producer or flunky or something.
Well, he may not be her butler, but maybe he's still Jericho's ward.
I don't know if he was ever actually Jericho's ward or if he was just like the Quaid brother that, has the issues that they just tag along with him.
Well, that's AEW Dynamite. Some bold moves there, starting the night with Moxley, ending the night with Bosom. We'll see how they do in the ratings, which we do not have as of present.
Because we are recording in such a timely fashion, they have not even been issued or disseminated to the general public yet. That's how on top of this thing we are.
Well, Jim, we will find out if there was any intelligent life on December 11th, AEW Dynamite. The ratings are in. Wednesday, December 11th, 2024, AEW Dynamite, 8 to 10:07 p.m.
Oh, boy.
All right, well, on average, AEW Dynamite...
I'm flipping papers, Jace. I'm going to note these numbers as they come in.
Just don't attack the page. The flipping of the page at the right time is appropriate. It's about the attacking of the page. That's the problem.
Sometimes I'm aggressive with this paperwork.
All right, well, let's see how these numbers were for the paperwork. On average, AEW Dynamite, December 11th, 594,000 viewers.
Oh, so orange is the new black and 500 and something thousand is the new 800 and something thousand.
This was up 1% from last week. It's down 2% from the trailing 4-week average, and this was Winter is Coming. And I think maybe the fans came as much as they're going to for any of these AEW shows.
I think it's going to be a long, hard winter.
It's going to be blue balls January and February, ladies and gentlemen, as AEW goes to max. But let's go to the quarterly breakdowns.
Ooh, boy, that's going to be strange. All righty.
No, there's some interesting things here. I mean, there's some good things for AEW in a sense, but there's some interesting stuff here, too. These were compiled by WrestleNomics, quarter 1, 8 to 8:15 p.m. Jay White and Orange Cassidy versus Jon Moxley and Pac with picture-in-picture ads. 675,000 viewers.
Wow. That is the lowest open in the history of opens in their regular time, right?
WrestleNomics has a trend line that's dotted, so it's hard to see exactly where it goes. It appears to be about 100,000 off the trend line average of the first quarter.
And by the way, we love his numbers. I love them when you read them to me, but if I try to look at one of those charts or graphs or PowerPoints or whatever the fuck, it looks like Tony Khan's Continental Classic graphics to me.
Well, we'll have more about that, our new feature, You Pay Us and I Read Things to You. But ladies and gentlemen, quarter 2. Did I give the number? Yeah, I did. Quarter 2.
Yes, you did.
Quarter 2, 8:15, 8:30 p.m. The continuation of White and Orange versus Moxley and Pac. With the post-match with Hangman Adam Page and the Death Riders, followed by an ad break. And then a Jon Moxley backstage promo Followed by
Dick the Boozer.
Followed by the beginning of Christian Cage's live promo where he calls him a drunk. 633,000 viewers.
Well, it wasn't anywhere near their normal first quarter drop. We can say that for them. Is only 42,000 people, but they started 100,000 down to begin with. So,
it's interesting though. Moxley has been over the last month. I think he was one time or maybe two times in the last segment. He was in the 9 o'clock hour. Now he starts the show. He's dragging down the interest in every quarter he's in. I think it statistically can be shown here. But let's go now to quarter 3, 8:30 to 8:45 p.m. The Christian Cage hook angle and the start of Claudio Castagnoli versus Will Ospreay with picture-in-picture ads. 619,000 viewers.
Well, again, the positive news is that's not many. It's only another 14,000, but it's not precipitous.
Well, we go now to quarter 4, 8:45 to 9 p.m. Claudio Castagnoli versus Will Ospreay continued. The post-match with Darby Allen. Ricochet's backstage promo. MJF, says MJF angle. MJF getting out of the car. It's not an angle.
We got an angle of MJF from behind, the camera angle.
An ad break. The Zack Ryder backstage promo. Zack Ryder? Matt Cardona.
Matt
that was
Cardona.
His old name. It says Zack Ryder here.
That was his slave name, wasn't it?
His backstage promo. The Kyle O'Reilly Undisputed Kingdom backstage angle. 596,000 viewers.
Oh, so there's another 23,000, and they got to pick something up at some point because they're not going to be able to make their average at this rate. But they are right now 2,000 viewers off the overall average of the program in quarter 4.
Well, Jim, we go to quarter 5. You know what that is? The big 9 o'clock hour, 9 to 9:15 p.m. The big Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole match with picture-in-picture ads.
With MJF hanging in the ballot. They should have put MJF on a poll.
The post-match with Undisputed Kingdom and MJF. And the FTR backstage promo. 554,000 viewers.
Oh, good Lord.
The Adam Cole effect.
So that was a drop of 42,000 more at the top of the hour, and now they're down 121,000. And again, how are they going to keep this up and get that average? Does a bus pull up in a parking lot? What?
With talent? They just come out. Let's go to quarter 6, 9:15 to 9:30 p.m.
By the way, that used to be when we'd run spot shows at schools. Nobody was there. We'd stand out there wishing all of a sudden a school bus would pull up. And then finally, when we opened the new Davis Arena in 2002 for OVW, I'd been wishing that for 20 fucking years, and I'll be a son of a bitch if a school bus didn't pull up. Well, we were already turning people away. Anyway.
We go down to quarter 6, 9:15, 9:30 p.m. An ad break. The Learning Trees backstage promo. We didn't even talk about how awful this is. Now the joke is that he gives subway paths that don't exist. He just names random places and random orders.
Yeah, I just skipped over it for lack of space.
This is why he's in Ring of Honor. A recap, the Darby Allen backstage interview, and the start of Ricochet versus Brody King, 558,000 viewers.
Well, they're headed back in the right direction. They lost 121,000 and then picked up 4,000.
Well, let's see what happens next. Quarter 7, 9:30, 9:45 p.m. The continuation of Ricochet versus Brody King with picture-in-picture. The Private Party, Leo Rush, Action Andretti, Top Flight, and Layla Gray, who look fantastic. Backstage angle, followed by
backstage angle. It was a pissing contest at best. They argued with each other and all walked away.
Well, that was a pissing contest.
Two of them shook hands.
And then All In Texas video, 594,000 viewers.
Holy shit. What now?
594.
They 36,000 came back out of nowhere. Son of a gun. Who was the main part of that segment again after all that gibberish?
Once again, Ricochet versus Brody King continued from the previous quarter, which was 558. The Private Party Leo Rush Action Andretti top right, Layla Gray backstage angle.
That wasn't it.
And the All In Texas video.
So does Ricochet still have a little cachet with this audience that people got on the phone and said, hey, the fucking kid's flipping around?
Well, if it means more promo time, we'll see what happens. Let's go now,
because now that is their overall average, 594 in quarter 7. They nailed it.
Let's go now to quarter 8. I remind you, we have a 7-minute overrun, quarter 8, 9:45 to 10 p.m. An ad break. Mercedes Moné and Anna Jay's backstage angle. The start of Mariah May versus Mina Shirakawa with picture-in-picture ads. 549,000 viewers.
Oh, they flipped that 4 and that 9.
And then 7-minute overrun. The continuation and the return of Toni Storm, 533,000 viewers. 189,000 in the key demo.
So, go ahead.
201 for quarter 8. For anyone who thinks like these women angles are really connecting, that was the low point of the regular, not overrun show. 201 in the key demo for Dynamite.
The good part, they only lost in regulation from start to finish 126,000 people, which is less than they normally lose. The bad thing is they started with 100,000 or so less than they normally start with. And by the way, do you know what's scheduled now after AEW's regulation period on TBS?
Yeah, because my DVR recorded until 30 minutes after the hour, so I got to watch a bit of Wipeout. It was actually enjoyable. I liked it.
But Wipeout with John Cena.
Yeah. John
Cena follows AEW, and they ran the wrestling audience off. They started out with only 533,000 people. So yeah, there's that. I mean, what did they expect with this?
You know, again, this was for Winter is Coming. I think they thought this was a big lineup. I think they think the Continental Classic is good for business. I think they think they're elevating their young guys. I think they think that with the Moxley thing, I don't know what they think. I don't know if they think it needs time. I don't know if time is going to be friendly.
It does need time. Whoever came up with it needs to be given 3 to 6 years in federal prison.
Well, I don't
think you can get away with home incarceration on an offense like this.
I don't know if time's going to be favorable to this angle, but
time ain't on his side. No, it ain't.